Okay, I'm going to be going over the integers, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. I'll review the distributive property, some PEMDAS and exponents, and greatest common factors, least common multiples, and multiplying and dividing the mixed numbers to prepare you for your test coming up. So I'll get started with the integers. So if you had a question like positive 5 plus a negative 7, you remember want to look at the numbers. The number 7 by itself, without the positive or negative in front of it, it's the bigger number. So you know the answer is going to have a negative symbol because it is more negatives than positives. Then you look for the difference between 7 and 5, and the difference between 7 and 5 is 2, so you'd get negative 2 for your answer. If you had one like this, like a positive 8 plus a negative 4, you'll see that the 8 is the bigger number, so the answer will be positive. And then you find the difference between 8 and 4, which is 4. So this one would be positive 4. For the next one, if you had negative 4 plus negative 4, they're both negative and you're adding them together. So the answer is going to be negative because you're adding two negatives together. So this one would be negative 8. Now remember, if you're subtracting a negative, like this example here, negative 3 minus negative 4. Remember, subtracting a negative minus a negative turns into a plus. So negative 3 plus 4. And then you find the difference. It's like 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. It's a positive 1. When using the distributive property, if you had a number like this, 6 times 24, you can rewrite it with the distributive property as 6 times 20 plus 4. You're breaking down that 24 into two numbers that will make it easier to multiply. And then you'd add them together. You know that 6 times 20 is 120. And you know 6 times 4 is 24. And then you can add those together. You get 144. Some more things that will be on the test with bases and exponents. Remember, if you had a number like this, 4 to the power of 5, the 4 would be the base. The 5 is the exponent. So if you had a problem like this on your test, 2 to the power of 3, the base is 2, the exponent is 3. 2 to the power of 3 is not 6. 2 to the power of 3 is 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So when you're doing least common multiples, if you had numbers like 7 and 14, this one would be very simple. You would say 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. 14 times 1 is 14. That would be a very easy one. You would just start listing multiples of each numbers. If you had different numbers like, let's say, 3 and 12, this might be a little more difficult. You'll have to go further with this one. You know 12 times 1 is 12. Now some of you can do this mental math and know that automatically 3 times 4 would give you 12. But let's just go ahead and list out the multiples. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 4 is 12. If you don't know it using your mental math and just knowing something like this, then you would just list out the multiples. If you need something with greatest common factors, you look at what can be multiplied together to get those numbers. If you had the numbers 24 and 36, you would list out different ways you can multiply to get these numbers. So for example, 1 times 24, 6 times 4, and 8 times 3. Same thing with 36. You'd have 1 times 36, 12 times 2, 9 times 4, and 6 times 6. So you would look at all the different factors, and the one that I see that is the greatest is going to be the 6. There's a 6 here and a 6 here. Now going back to integers, remember when you're multiplying and dividing, if you're multiplying like a negative 4 times a negative 3, remember negative times negative will be positive. So this would be positive 12. If the signs are opposites, like negative 4 times positive 3, this one would be a negative 12. And same thing with division. If both are negative, the answer is positive. And then for multiplying and dividing the mixed numbers. So if you have a problem like 2 and 2/5 times 1 and 2/3. So remember, you'll start with the backward C. 5 times 2 is 10. And 10 plus 2 is 12. So you'd have 12 over 5. And then times this backward C here. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. So you'd have 5/3. For this one, you can cross cancel. 5 cross cancels with 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Same thing over here. Then you'd multiply across. 12 times 1 is 12. And 1 times 3 is 3. Now going to division. Similar process. So if you had 3 and 1/3 divided by 4 and a half. So you'd still do the backward C. So you'd go 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. So 10 over 3. And then divided by 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. Now, remember, you're not going to be able to divide by that fraction. You're going to need to multiply by the reciprocal. So you'll leave 10 over 3, and you'll then multiply not by 9 over 2, but 2 over 9. You cannot cross cancel here, so you're going to multiply across. 10 times 2 is 20. 9 times 3 is 27. And you don't need to do anything else to that. You can leave it like that. And then one more. If you had 2 and a half divided by 3 and 4/5, same process as the last one. So backward C, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So you'd have 5 over 2. And then divided by this backward C, 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 4 is 19. Now we need to multiply by the reciprocal. So we'll leave the 5 over 2, but now we're going to multiply, and we're going to flip this over. So we're going to put the 5 on top, 19 on bottom. There's no opportunity to cross cancel here, so we'll multiply across. On the top, we have 25. And on the bottom, you have 19 times 2. If you don't know it mental math, just write it out on the side. 9 times 2 is 18. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And you'd end up with 25 over 38.